Hey, what's going on, everybody? Back again for another Twin Peaks episode review. Episode 7, entitled Realization Time. Not quite sure what that refers to, unless it's the tapes that are being listened to by James and Donna and Maddie, or something else. I'm not quite sure what it refers to. But anyway, we're after this. We've got one more episode until season 1 is in the books. So let's get started. All right. Well, we start out at the Great Northern. As you remember, last episode at the tail end, Audrey was in under the covers in Dale's room. Dale is kind of trying, doing his best to keep his pants on, and then he ends up putting Audrey in the friend zone. What about that? Dale says he doesn't have any secrets. Maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe he's not. We'll have to see. At the sheriff's department, we've got another poor sap in Andy, who has been put into the friend zone by Lucy. Lucy gets a call from the doctor. Wonder what that's about. Waldo the bird isn't in the best of shape, so he's not cooperating at the moment. Apparently Dale has a fear of birds. At least he seems to be a bit unwilling to get near the cage. We get some forensic confirmation that just reiterates the notion that Ronette, Laura, Leo, and Jacques were in the cabin. So not a big reveal. We see a photo of Waldo perched on Laura's shoulder, but Waldo has yet to talk. Maybe he'll give us some clues. And we find out that Jacques apparently works at One-Eye Jack's as well as the Roadhouse. So I'm sure we'll be meeting up with him shortly. Leo is in sniper mode. He sees Bobby and Shelley sharing a tender moment outside the house. Obviously, Shelley's distraught over shooting Leo. And apparently Leo hasn't bothered to complete that house yet. Still needs some walls put up there instead of that plastic. Must freeze their ass off in the winter, I imagine. Just an aside, am I the only one that cringes when people kiss on TV? I don't know. Something weird about why they teach people to kiss on television. Leo's police scanner picks up Lucy talking about Waldo, and that could spell disaster. We're at the Palmer's house. This is another moment that we were teased with last episode that's pretty important. The Donna, James, and Maddie trio are listening to Laura's tape. She mentions that she thinks she's going to dream again, one of the big bad ones. And notice as she's talking, her tone of voice, she's teasing Jacoby, the way she's talking, especially about her, the naked secrets that he likes, And remember what Jacoby said about Laura trying to tempt others into, in order to humiliate them or degrade them. So this is, kind of her, probably more of her being a little bit wicked than, just merely confessing things. She mentions the coconut, which we know that Jacoby has the half of the heart necklace stashed in along with one of Laura's tapes. So we've got that brought up. I'm sure Donna and James won't forget that to mention. And Laura mentions how easy it is for her to get men to like her. So apparently, like I said, it was no big surprise that the men in Twin Peaks, at least some of them, lusted after her a bit, to say the least. And I imagine she probably was, flirtatious and teasing them as well. So we'll find out more about that later. Oh, so we find there's a second cassette holder, no tape inside, so must be in Jacoby's office. And given it's the last recording that she made and the night she died, they're determined to get it. Alright, so now we're at Horn's department store, and Audrey is showing off her people skills before spying on a coworker that Emery Battis takes into his office. Apparently, he must be the one that's doing the recruiting for the girls for One-Eyed Jacks. One thing I notice is that Audrey lights up a cigarette and starts smoking, and then goes into the closet to spy. And apparently, that didn't tip anybody off. I don't see an ashtray or anything. So Battis's room doesn't smell like cigarette smoke. So a little lazy writing there. Those little details, pop out if you're keeping an eye on them. Yeah, the weirdo gives the girl a unicorn thing, blown glass, figure, a unicorn. And it sounds like from the discussion that this particular girl has already been up to the brothel, and now they're just to get her initial impression of it. Black Rose is the name of the contact for the brothel, and it's probably not too difficult to figure out who that is. Now Audrey's got all the information she needs to pretend that she was also offered a job at the place as well, which will come up later. And she does find Ronette's name in Emery's little black book, so she's putting some of these clues together. At the Double R, Hank lets us know that he's aware of Ed, and he's probably suspects that Ed and Norma are fooling around. Steals a lighter. What a class act. Harry stops by, and apparently he's Hank's parole officer. By the way they interact, I'm not surprised that if they have some history together. And Dale gives Harry some good advice we should all follow, and that's every day give yourself a present. I agree with that. And back at Horns, Audrey gets the contact number. Though, I mean, this may be me nitpicking, but given her status in Twin Peaks and who her father is, I would, given that this is her father's store and that Battis is under the employ of her father, I don't know if him offering her the opportunity to work up there is likely to happen. Because, if that got back, he's in deep, deep doo-doo. So that part was, you could see in the look on the girl's face that she was kind of wondering if she was, if Audrey was pulling her leg or not. So I thought that, that was kind of, would have, I guess I kind of would have rather she had, discovered the number on her own. I guess it'd be a little more believable to me. But anyway, apparently in Invitation to Love, Chet gets his revenge on Montana for smacking him around. And Nadine is doing a Forrest Gump impersonation with her box of chocolates. Her patent was rejected, and she's, miserable about that, but what a surprise. All right, over at the Martells, Pete shows off his fish trophy. Josie, Harry comes over and asks Josie what she was doing at the Timber Falls Motel. And Josie starts putting on the damsel in distress act. Hopefully you're catching on to her game playing by now, that Josie is a very manipulative person, to say the least. She shows Harry the pictures she took to prove to him that Ben and Catherine were plotting against her. And apparently she somehow caught wind of the plot to burn the mill down, though, when Catherine and Ben were talking in a separate room and Josie was in the other one smoking. I'm not sure if she could overhear them or not. So somehow she got wind of that. There's Dale showing up like James Bond in his tuxedo. And apparently the guys are getting ready to head out to cross the border to One-Eyed Jacks. Harry mentions the info that Josie told him about Catherine and Ben. And Harry says he knows nothing, basically doesn't know anything about her, but he loves her. So yeah, Harry, you're a bit of a sucker, to say the least. I hope that doesn't come back to bite you in the ass. All right, now this next part really made me laugh. The whole mention of high rollers from the Tri-Cities, and that's because I grew up in the Tri-Cities. So I'm familiar with that place very well. I spent the first 23 years of my life in the Tri-Cities. Tri-Cities is made up of Kennewick, Pasco, and Richland, and I grew up in Kennewick. When they mentioned that, it was kind of a nod to, if it's your hometown, you're kind of like, oh, cool, they mentioned us. Because most people aren't familiar with it anyway, and it was a nationwide show. But yeah, I don't know if high-rolling oral surgeons from the Tri-Cities is a very believable cover, but but it's funny all the same. And as they leave, Audrey appears and is looking for Dale, so just missed him. Seems like she's gathered all the information about the brothel, so maybe, and she's probably developing plans of her own, so she was probably wanting to relay those to Dale. The fact that she missed him may have consequences later on. We'll have to see. And apparently, I don't know if a life insurance policy was taken out that covers Josie. I'm not sure if it covers other people as well. Apparently, there's something a little fishy about it, but the Catherine isn't above bribery, obviously, and the insurance salesman or whoever he is not above playing ball. So something's up there. Dale is getting wired for sound at the sheriff's office. Ed looks through some disguises in that briefcase. It looks like something you get at a, kind of like a gag store, right alongside with the whoopee cushions and the chattering teeth that you wind up. So it was kind of silly. But like I said, the comedy element helps to balance things out. Waldo starts finally talking, but unfortunately Leo snipes him. Poor Waldo. What did he do wrong? Didn't do anything wrong. But Waldo does have the last laugh because he apparently Laura had been up there enough times that he'd learned to mimic her. I imagine, we saw that photo of the bird on her shoulder, so she was probably talking to the bird a lot. And so, he mentions basically what Laura said to Leo at some point. But I would imagine that some point was probably the night in question when she met her demise. So Jacques and Leo are still at the top of our list. Now, to be honest, and be honest with me, folks, did you laugh out loud when you saw Ed in his wonderful disguise? I immediately thought of the Burt Reynolds character that Norm Macdonald played on the Jeopardy spoof on SNL. Definitely looks like Turd Ferguson. So yeah, that was hilarious. I don't know how anybody would take that seriously, but like I said, it's the comic relief. And Dale makes a Flintstones reference with their names to Blackie. So I don't know if she didn't catch on to that, or maybe she's used to guys using aliases that come up there. So one or the other. Ed Smooth talks his way out of potential trouble with his wanting to get a look under Blackie's hood. So he's at least quick on the draw when it comes to conversing. Dale relays some info to Hawk, who's out in the van, linked up to his wiretap, or not wiretap, or hidden wire, whatever. So he's got an idea. He's kind of keeping an eye on things from the outside, at least through that voice relay. Back at the Palmers, we see Maddie sneaking out, but apparently Leland is not gone to bed. He looks like he might have some tears in his eyes, and notices that she leaves. And I'm not sure if Maddie is wearing, she's wearing a wig or not, or if that's her natural hair, and then the brunette version is a wig, or if they filmed it at different times. But I'm not quite sure. And James is needless to say that James is at a loss for words. He thinks he looks like he's seen a ghost. Given the mill fire is going down soon, it's no surprise that Ben Horn is eager to get the Ghostwood contract signed by the Icelanders, who seem to be far more interested in partying and drinking and raising hell than they are in anything else. But apparently they're going to go up to One-Eye Jacks as well to sign the contract, so everybody's going up there for a good time. Ben calls Josie, and what we can glean from their conversation is that Catherine may be the odd one out in this conspiracy. We'll have to wait and see. Audrey tries to... apparently, Audrey's probably better at pulling the wool over the eyes of guys than of women, because Blackie sees right through her bullshit from the start. But thankfully, Audrey's quote-unquote oral skills get her out of trouble. And yeah, apparently Bob Marley deals blackjack. At least that's what it looked like to me. Ed isn't much of a gambler, and now enter Jacques Renault. All right, now we're over to Dr. Jacoby's office. We're back into the Donna James Maddie storyline, and he's a fan of Invitation to Love as well. Though I don't recall any of the characters ever talking about it other than Lucy at one time, but it's still kind of funny. He gets a call from Laura, or someone pretending to be Laura, and he thinks it's a crank call until he watches the videotape. And I guess because he had a bit of an obsession with Laura, it's kind of blinded his better judgment and assumes that now she's alive. They mention meeting her, or she mentions Jacoby meeting her at Sparkwood in 21. And if you remember, this is where Laura got off of James's bike and ran off into the woods after she wrapped her arms around him and screamed that she loved him. I think I mentioned or said something like Sparkwood and 10th or something, so my bad on that. And I should have known the address off the top of my head, but I didn't. Yeah. So now, Bobby is deciding that he's, I guess, going to take care of James before he takes care of Leo. And he's doing a little bit of spying on him, on the trio on his own. But also notice that someone else is spying on all of them, all four of them, including Bobby. And, we hear some heavy breathing. Jacoby pauses the tape, recognizes the gazebo where they're at. So he takes off in a hurry. Donna and James are headed in to look for that tape. And it looks like Bobby plants a little bit of cocaine in James's gas tank. So I don't know. I don't know if Harry and company, if they see that, are going to really believe that James is involved in the drug trade. But I don't know. Bobby isn't the brightest bulb when it comes to planning conspiracies against other people. Though he was a bit successful with the bloody shirt. So we got to give him credit for that. All right, wrapping it up, the episode ends with Maddie in her Laura costume, if you want to call it that, and she's still being spied on by that someone who we heard breathing, but we haven't identified who that person is. Maybe she's in trouble. Yeah, it's hard to say. So overall, this episode, heck of a lot going on, but like I said, we're still edging a bit closer. We finally got Jock in our sights, and he's not hip to the identity of Dale. So I don't remember his brother was killed by Leo, so he's probably more worried about something happening from him than anything else. So Dale's gonna have some time to speak with Jacques, and maybe I'm assuming with his expertise, and we'll get some more information from that guy. And actually, the guy that plays Jacques, if you watch television in the 90s, he did a lot of kind of one-offs, character actor in different 90s television shows. So he popped up a lot. I don't know the actor's name, but I remember him. I don't know if he showed up in... I think he was like I don't know if it was not Married with Children, but like at Home Improvement. He was like one of those violinists that, that go around at the restaurants and play for, play for a tip or something like that. I just remember him doing that. He may have been showing up on Married with Children. I can't remember, but yeah. So he's one of these guys that if you grew up watching television in the 90s, you probably would see him a few times here and there. So yeah, we've got that. We're gonna get assuming we're gonna get another tape recording from James and Donna's investigation. Maddie's all by herself, and Jacoby's on his way. Plus, we've got the mystery guy that's spying on her. So that confrontation is coming up. Be interesting to see if Maddie's gotten in a little bit over her head, because I mean she's got she's assuming that he's going to show up at Sparkwood in 21, so I don't think she's expecting company. Yeah, and remember that now we've got Audrey up there. Audrey didn't tell anybody that she was going up there. I imagine that's probably the last place they would look for her, so she may be getting in a little deeper than she is anticipating getting in, so... But also remember that Dale is there now currently with, Ed. So we'll see how that plays out in the next episode. Yeah, we get a little bit of information on the case as far as evidence and the revelations from both Waldo and the tape. But like I said, they're almost just little tidbits that are kind of pointing us in the direction, or in the general direction that we already know about. So this episode is, as far as any more insight into the case, it's kind of kind of light on that, but it's more focused on getting the storylines progressing to the last episode of the season. And that television shows typically have cliffhangers of some sort at the last end of the last episode of the season, and we know that the show doesn't end after season 1, so you never know, it may be a doozy. So yeah, we'll take a look at that shortly. I will have episode 8 out probably later today or early tomorrow, talking like super early Pacific Standard Time. So I'll have it out, so you'll have that one, and we'll be all wrapped up for that. And then I'll start working on the beginning of season 2. All right, everybody, take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.